constitutional chaos, an energy revolution, sovereignty incompatibility. All terms used to describe the potential outcome of the Scottish referendum. So, with the vote finally happening next week, Robert Wright joins me back down the line to discuss. Robert, we spoke about this referendum when Cameron and Salmond first signed that accord. At that point, there really wasn't enough hard facts for voters to make an informed decision. 2 years down the line and only 8 days until votes are cast. To your mind, are the real issues any clearer?
Well, I mean, certainly some issues are clear with the publication of, for example, of the white paper and the discussion around the white paper. However, there are still some very, very serious issues that have big unknowns beside them. And I think the key one, at least from my point of view, is the idea of EU membership. There's been little movement, if you like, on the EU side, you know, coming into agreement with Scotland that this transition from Scotland being part of the EU because it's part of the UK to be a new EU member state is not given. Yet, you know, this is something that's really not continuing to be discussed, even though, you know, the thing is the Scottish National Party understands now that they're going to have to reapply, and this is a process.
On the issue of the currency union, what did you make of Mark Carney saying the idea that an independent Scotland would be able to use the British pound is incompatible with sovereignty?
Again, we can interpret this in a variety of ways, but the main issue here is that it's just a basic macroeconomic issue, is that monetary policy and fiscal policy work in unison. So you can't have, in a sense, a monetary policy that's completely out of line with your fiscal policy. So now let's be fair to this view, is that the same thing happens with the EU. The EU runs monetary policy, the other countries follow, and the situation there is you won't get this kind of bullying tactic that you'd probably get from the UK government if in charge of monetary policy and, you know, Scotland follows that.
Indeed, Sunday's poll showed the Yes camp had the edge for the first time. As a result, billions of pounds were wiped off the value of companies with Scottish links, and the pound was pummeled as markets took fright. However, some of that returned as the cooler heads prevailed. Was this just a knee-jerk reaction, or is capital flight still one of the biggest concerns here?
I think this is a really important issue, and some of us have been arguing that for some time. The biggest issue relating to the independence debate and the 2-year run-up to the actual referendum is the uncertainty it creates about the future. However, the other thing is we must be very careful about these opinion polls, and indeed, some of us have become very frustrated the way they are interpreted. They usually say, it's 51% no or 49% yes or whatever. But the thing is, it's usually within these numbers that they get from surveys is that there's a large proportion of people who are still unknown. And my feeling would be that if you look at historically about people who report them being a don't know, they tend to be somewhat conservative. I would think the majority of those people unknown, in the end of the day, when they're standing in front of the ballot box with their ballot in their hand, will vote no.
According to some analysts, whatever decision Scotland makes on the 18th of September, we can expect to see short to medium term pain across the British Isles. With last-ditch promises of increased devolved powers, the only thing no longer an option is perhaps the status quo. You're based and educating in Scotland. What is the feeling there?
I don't believe this, that there's, the thing is, if the referendum is a no and there's no discussion about, a future referendum in 5 or 6 or 7 years, if the view is, well, we had our referendum, that's it for the moment, then, if this uncertainty goes away, then I don't think you're going to have these any negative consequences. Plus, I view the debate in a way as being there's a healthy side to it as well. Basically, the situation that Scotland finds itself in within the UK is unsatisfactory politically and economically. They need more responsibility. Indeed, they need more devolution. The thing is, the United Kingdom as a whole has to modernize and become like many other countries. Let smaller geographic areas with more common interests rule themselves. Or govern themselves. And I think that what the referendum has shown to a lot of people is that they may want to vote no, but they're dissatisfied with the situation. And this sends a message to the politician. And the recent opinion polls have really driven this message home that the status quo, in a sense, is not acceptable. There's going to have to be further devolution of responsibilities. Again, I can see some positive stuff coming from this debate, but the thing is, if the vote is no, then they have to be very careful about whether they're going to pursue, another referendum and how soon.
Robert, your insights are greatly appreciated. Thank you. Well, viewers, that's all from me for the moment, but time for the big question looms, and you can be sure the TV team will be here with the very latest. So please do stay tuned.